Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back once again. And my nipples are so hard they could cut glass right now. Why is that? Because I'm excited that Sniper Bladeworks is back on the scene. After a couple of years hiatus, Lance is back with his most popular designs now being introduced as a production series knife. And now, before you start groaning and going, oh, I'd rather just buy one of his customs. I don't want another production knife. We're going to dig into this, and I'm going to show you why this is different than your typical production knife, even though the prices are going to be very, very affordable. So let's start things out. This is the LPC model, Lance's personal carry. That's what that stands for. And they're going to be priced right around $300. Actually, I think it's a couple bucks below $300. And you're going to get a couple of different choices in your finishes. I do know that they're doing a black DLC coated blade. This is the belt satin blade. There may or may not be other options down the road. Getting into the specs, it's 8 1/4 inches overall in length with a 4-inch S30V steel blade that has a 3-inch cutting edge because you have such a large finger choil here. That finger choil, by the way, is actually really great for holding this knife, for using this knife. I'm not always a big fan of finger choils. They're not always as useful as you'd like to think they are, but with the particular style of grip that this knife has, it does serve a purpose and it is very comfortable. It is a titanium frame lock, and you get the steel lock insert. And you're also getting the over travel stop as well, so you can't overextend the titanium lock bar. One thing that I noticed about this right away that I really liked, for those of you that like to use a lanyard, you're going to find this to be rather advantageous. I use lanyards on some knives and not others. It depends on the shape of the handle. It depends on the slickness of the grip, and if I feel I really need it to extract the knife out of the pocket more easily. Now, with that being said, one of the knives that I always like to put lanyards on are Striders, SNGs, SMFs, things like that. But the problem is you tend to chew up the lanyard with the edge of the knife because they don't use a thong tube. Here, Lance has chosen to use a thong tube, so the lanyard goes all the way through the knife, and it is protected from the blade. Thank God. It's little details like that, I tell you, that really, really, really make a difference. The biggest change, perhaps, on the LPC design is the fact that now, as smooth and solid as they always were, now they're on bearings, and it is so wonderfully smooth. Now, this is a heavy knife. It's 7.5 ounces. It is heavy for a knife of this size, and a lot of that really is the steel. Look how crazy thick the spine of that blade is. Very thick titanium as well. If this were all titanium, it might even be a little bit heavier than most people would want to carry, but they do have the G10 scale over a thin titanium frame on the other side. Now, I've been waiting a couple of weeks to put this out there because Lance is trying something a little bit different. If you go back into Sniper's history, Lance Abernathy founded Sniper Bladeworks back in 2009, so 10 years ago, with another famous knife maker, Jody Muller. Now, Lance has since separated from Jody in the business and has taken on a new partner, and I believe this new partner is a little bit more business savvy than knife makers tend to be, so he's very conscious of what social media brings to the table. He's very conscious of what knife reviews on YouTube or in print magazines bring to the table. So he has developed this kind of marketing kit where they're sending these knives out to some prominent players and getting their opinions out there in public, so when the knife launches, people get to see it, 360 degrees, get to see close-ups, and get to hear personal opinions. Well, as such, and being such a smart businessman, there's certain steps that he takes there's an embargo on it. We're not supposed to be talking about it before September 15th. Today's September 12th. I'm just not the kind of guy that takes direction very well. I wanted to get this out there. I wanted people to see this. I wanted to give you at least a few days to stick back a few dollars for when this launches so that you can get it. I would have done this a month ago, honestly, because I firmly believe in giving people the opportunity, especially nowadays with everybody's incomes being affected by the contagion and quarantines and everything else. You need a little extra time to save up, but you know, I didn't want to be too much of a dick and throw this out there weeks before anybody else had a chance to. I'm just going to do it a couple days early because I'm still a little bit of a dick. So the way it's going to work is, actually I should continue on with the history here. So Lance has a new partner. For those that don't know Lance, he's a really awesome guy. He's got a lot of talent in knife making. He's self-taught. He wasn't really a machinist or anything else when he started out doing this. He's learned on his own how to do these, make these knives, as well as take instruction from other great people that he's befriended over the years. I mean, Jesus Christ, Lance knows everybody and everybody loves Lance. So it was easy for him to tap people on the shoulder and go, hey, what about this? How do I get a good lockup here? What's this? What's this? What's that? And has been able to learn and collaborate with some really, really great knife makers. His history basically is he was a full-time law enforcement officer for well over 10 years. I think it was more like 13 years. And he spent a couple years on the DEA task force. He also served on a SWAT team for over a decade as a sniper and as a team leader. So his history really gets into guns. He's really, really a gun guy. And I've had people say to me over the past few years, because I've owned a few different of his custom knives, you know, why are the handles shaped so funky? Why do they look so weird? Why are they canted at such an angle? He's very much in favor of making the handle of his knives feel a little bit like a pistol grip. And that kind of keeps, you know, tipped toward the enemy, I suppose you could say. But ergonomically, they fit with the shape of your hand when your hand's at rest closed like this. It also works well, as I mentioned earlier, if you're going to use the finger choil and do some more carving or precision cutting. It still falls perfectly into place. You notice how this is cut away for the webbing of your hand. Back here is curved to fit into the palm of your hand nicely. The ergonomics of his knives, while they may look unconventional aesthetically, they feel friggin' fantastic. Even though this is a flat slab of titanium on the back side, he's still dehorned all the way around the edges, making it comfortable. There are no hot spots, yet it's square enough that it won't slip around in the hand, and it's very easy to index. If you're not looking at the knife, you know which way the blade is pointed. You know how it's oriented in your hand. So that's kind of a basic rundown of how he designs his knives as far as the ergonomics go. This knife, the original LPC Custom, won Best Tactical Folder at Blade Show 2013. And ever since then, it's really kind of become one of his signature designs. The way that you can get your hands on the new production version, there are two ways. One, you can go to Kickstarter and just go search for it, because the LPC, the DMF, the Smatchet, the MAMU or MAMU, and the Dashi will all be launching on Kickstarter on September 15th of 2020. Now, if it's a little hard to navigate and search through all that, you could just go to sniperbladeworks.com, and when you click to buy this, it will automatically redirect you to the Kickstarter campaign. Now, I am not the kind of person that reviews knives that are being sent out by companies, especially being sent out to a number of different people. That's just not my thing. But having been a fan of Sniper Blade Works for the last, I don't know, 8-9 years, having owned a couple customs made for me by Lance, and being excited for this to come back out, I wanted to be involved in this. So I reached out to Lance. I'm like, tell me more about this. He's like, dude, I'm going to get one sent out to you. I want your feedback on it. You don't need to do a video. You don't need to do photography. I just want you to have one, and I want to hear your feedback on how we're doing on this. And I thought that was really, really cool. So, of course, if it's a knife that I like, I'm going to make a video on it. And I tell you right now, since I've had this, I have rarely carried anything else. This has turned into pretty much a main EDC knife for me because the size of it is compact enough to carry on most days. It's a little heavy for wearing with shorts. I prefer to be wearing jeans or pants when I'm carrying this. So the days that I end up carrying something else, it's usually because that something else is going to be lighter weight in shorts in this Texas heat. But the blade profile does everything I want it to do. It is stupid, ridiculously sharp. It's good as an EDC cutter. It's good as an oh shit, last line of defense, self-defense weapon. Great piercing tip, great belly to the blade. The way that it's canted as you come out allows you a little bit further reach. No matter how you're holding it, it's bringing that blade closer to the object or the thing that you need to cut. Excuse me. So it really has been the perfect knife for me. It was funny, I was digging through a lot of my older stuff and I found my Dashi from 2014. This is being redesigned slightly and being reintroduced in the Kickstarter campaign, so don't look at this one and go, I want that one. This was one of the custom jobbies that he made up back in 2014. Got this from him at Blade Show, and I've had it ever since. Really a crazy, crazy strong tool right there. But anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked on that. Let me give you my personal thoughts on this. You know, I'm not really a fan of a stonewashed frame lock. So I'm really glad that they did the G10 on the presentation side. It breaks up the monotony of all stonewash. They also did a nice clean satin on the blade, which I'm very, very happy to see. So you have the vertical satin on the flats as well as the belt satin on the blade as well. Another thing that's important to call out is these are all hand ground. How can I tell? The plunge is not 100% perfect. Doesn't bother me in the slightest, and it doesn't change the performance of the knife, but it was the first indicator to me that this is not a machine ground knife. This is a hand ground knife. And I'm really happy to see that in this price point, in a production knife, that you're still getting hands-on. They did a nice job doing their signature lines milled into the very, very slightly contoured G10 scale. They've got a nice finish. I don't know if my lights are picking up the finish in the G10 very well, but out in the sunlight, this the circular burst pattern comes out that looks really, really good. I love their custom pivot. Again, Lance is a gun guy. You can see that coming through in little design elements like that. Very slick, very cool. They did a good job of shaping the blade to the shape of the frame when the knife is closed. The deployment on this is ridiculously fast. It is smooth, it's fast, the lockup is solid. You know, and on a big thumb stud folder like this, you may be the type that prefers to just slowly open it, and that's fine. You can, as you can see, it's very easy to do that, but it wants to fly out so fast it almost leaves ahead of your thumb. So I tend to flick it. This is a really great flicker. I sit here sometimes and just play with it and play with it and play with it, and it's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite pastimes, playing with it. The only downside I found to this knife, let's get to that, was the pocket clip. Not nearly enough ramp on the pocket clip. I have to actually pry the clip up with my other hand as I'm sliding this over the seam of the pocket of my jeans. But I did bring that up to Lance early on, so I'm 100% certain that these will be bent a little bit more. And it's not a big deal. I wanted to wait till I did the video. I wanted you guys to see it. in its original form. I'm actually going to be anodizing the titanium myself because I want to kind of make it look a little different. And I'm going to be bending this. It's a very simple thing to do that quick little bend in the clip, not difficult at all. But that is going to be addressed for production. Remember, this is a pre-production knife. So don't judge it based on the clip. But I did want to call it out because I want you to see that Lance is taking our feedback. He is listening. And he does have enough time to make the corrections so the knife is as close to perfect as it possibly can be. I love the fact that he's using standoffs. Even a quarter-length backspacer would have added so much weight to this. An already very heavy knife that it would have been possibly a little bit unwieldy for many people. All in all, you do still have to be a fan of an overbuilt knife to really fully appreciate this knife. If you're carrying slim, thin, lightweight, delicate knives because that's your preference, this may not be the knife for you. This is that kick in the door and shove in somebody's skull kind of knife. This is that, I'm not going to call it a pry bar because that's why they make these. But it is a hard use tool as opposed to being a fine, finessed knife. So do keep that in mind. It is tough, it is brutish, it feels raw in the hand, not meaning that there's any hot spots or anything like that. It just feels like a barbaric tool. It is meant to be a, I don't want to put it in those terms. Let's just say it's meant to be used and abused and be tough, not to be babied and do very, very fine work with. I think that's about the best way I can possibly put it. And knowing that going into it, just by looking at it, seeing the dimensions, seeing how thick it is, seeing how it fits in the hand, you should automatically understand that before you buy it anyway. For me, at this price, this is an absolutely unbeatable deal. I have paid considerably more for Lance's Customs without a hesitation. Love the knives, they were great. This to me, sitting here at just around $300, is an absolute bargain on a knife that I personally believe you're going to find as a great everyday carry, something that you can reach for. Enjoy it for what it is. It's a fun flickable toy. It's a damn good looking knife. It's a unique design in your collection. It is unlikely that you have anything that's shaped even remotely like it. His designs tend to be more focused on the handle length than the blade, so they're always going to be bigger handle and smaller blade, which does keep the overall profile compact. I think that you're going to find that that nice belly and that nice curved blade is going to serve you very well for any kind of cutting task. It's going to do everything that you need it to do. Good quality steel for a great price. Sure, would it have been great to have M390 or some super crazy exotic steel? Sure, if you wanted to pay $350, $375, but then that starts putting you in a category of, man, I'm only a couple dollars away from a custom knife from any number of different makers. So the important thing about this was to give the best possible quality, good quality control, incredible action, everything all in one package, and keep it so far separated in price that it would be absurd to overlook it. So I think they've got an overall winner here. It's a good balance between the quality, the design, and the price. So you're going to be seeing a lot of this knife on my Instagram. You already have. I've kind of tried to not show it much and show just little bits and pieces of it. Again, so as to not really break the embargo, but fuck embargoes. As of today, I'm posting it in all of its glory because I've been carrying it so much. I love it so much. And I think that anybody out there willing to spend $300 on a good quality knife that's going to last them a good long time, you're going to love this knife too. All right, I'm out of here for now, guys. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll catch you on the next video.